This open session of this bump, bada bump, bump. All right, we got teachers here. We should all know how to do it. We are going to call to order this open session of the Tuesday, September 26th board meeting. We will go ahead and do a roll call.
Student Trustee Deodar.
Here.
Student Trustee Garcia Bustamante.
Here.
Trustee Rosenbaum is absent tonight. Trustee Khan.
Here.
Trustee Hopwood.
Here.
Vice President Boyd.
Here.
President Davidson.
Here.
Superintendent Wells.
Here.
Okay, before we move on though, I need to give a huge shout out to our Jeremy, who is our tech person from the city. We were not going to be able to live stream this, and he just worked some back of the scenes magic and fixed some parts and got us rolling again before the meeting. So thank you. We could not do this without him. Really makes a difference and brings this to our community. Okay, so we are moving on to the mission and vision statement.
The mission of Albany Unified School District is to provide excellent public education that empowers all to achieve their fullest potential as productive citizens. AUSD is committed to creating comprehensive learning opportunities in a safe, supportive, and collaborative environment, addressing the individual needs of each student.
Meeting norms. Maintain a focus on what is best for our students. Ensure a safe environment for all views to be expressed, treating each other, staff, and the public respectfully. Endeavor to find common solutions to issues through collaboration without sacrificing one's beliefs in what is best for students. Make a commitment to effective deliberation, each one listening with an open mind, while others are allowed to express their own points of view, even if one disagrees.
All right, we will now say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you would like to join or say it along. I pledge allegiance. All right, reporting on closed session, there was no action taken in closed session, so we will now take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing no opposition, the agenda passes. That is so great. We will now take public comments for matters not on the agenda. I am going to invite our ATA reps up first. Anyone in the virtual audience, you can raise your hand if you would like, and we will get to you after our in-person speakers.
Awesome. Thank you, board. So we have a couple speakers tonight, but first off, I just want to recognize and appreciate all of our wonderful teachers who are here tonight in support of our bargain. And just because it's been a little while since I think we've talked about the overarching goals of the bargain, this bargain is really about three things. It's about our youngest learners, it's about our highest need learners, and it's about keeping and retaining and recruiting staff members to this district. We believe that all those priorities are things that when we address them, they improve our district systematically throughout multiple dimensions. And so we just think that those are all really, really important topics for us to address, and that's why they're the centerpieces of our bargain. So I'd like to bring up a couple of our members who have some comments tonight. First one is an English teacher from the high school, Mary Conlon. Mary?
Will the timer start when I start talking? Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Mary Conlon, and I've been an English teacher at Albany High for 3 years. It's been a wonderful place to be a new teacher, but during this time I've seen firsthand the difficulties of being a teacher and living in the Bay Area. It has become more challenging to recruit and retain teachers, and schools are competing with one another to raise salaries and benefits. AUSD has felt this pressure too, with vacancies that have proven hard to fill. There's been a lot of talk lately about value, the value of the dollar, the property value of Albany homes, and at the bargaining table, the value of Albany Unified educators. But even as the value of the dollar falls, property values remain high because of the quality of our schools and educators. If we want to keep saying that we are a community that values its schools and truly believes that we are some of the best in the Bay, then we need to pay our educators like they are some of the best. I've been teaching for 3 years, have a master's in education, and do my job as well as I can. And I cannot even technically afford my poorly maintained studio apartment just outside Albany, let alone an Albany home. My own leasing company and many others require renters to make 3 times the rent, a number my current monthly take-home pay falls about $1,000 below. Our schools and our teachers are what make this community literally so valuable, and AUSD educators deserve deserve a contract that allows us to share in that prosperity rather than price us out of our own community. While the cost of Bay Area housing and inflation is not something we can single-handedly solve here tonight, a competitive contract can make the difference between AUSD retaining its teachers or losing them to districts that provide compensation that keep up with the cost of housing. I'm excited to hear that there is discussion of the UC allowing Albany teachers to use some of its graduate student housing next year. Access to safe and affordable housing would make a real difference to beginning teachers who want to work in Albany. AUSD is an amazing place to teach, but we cannot lose our edge and must continue providing truly competitive compensation. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mary. Next up, we have a teacher from Marin Elementary, Monica Haywood.
Hi, my name is Monica Haywood, and I teach first grade at Marin. It's my 24th year teaching and my 18th year in Albany. I've taught kindergarten through 4th, but I've done most of my teaching in first. I love teaching. There's no other job like it. But tonight I'm here to talk about the negative impact overcrowded classrooms have on students as well as teachers. I have 26 first graders, 26. I've never had that many students in first grade, and it shouldn't have happened. It's just too many, especially with COVID learning loss. Everything takes longer. Lining up, roll, morning check-in, author's chair, washing hands, etc. And that's just our routines. We also need to teach them to read, write, do math, and be a good friend. My OV colleague, Kevin Corcoran, did an amazing job a few weeks ago going over the negative impacts of overcrowded classrooms, such as elevated noise and a crowded physical space. I would like to talk about how overpacked classrooms like mine affect a teacher's ability to give our students what they need most, our attention. It's a teacher's job to notice everything about our students, from how they hold their pencils to if they're making friends, and everything in between, like are they reading, can they add? When you overpack my classroom, it affects my ability to do my job, and the students suffer from my diluted, watered-down attention. Maybe it's the teacher in me, but I found an analogy. When I do a load of laundry and I put in 1/3 a cup of detergent, my clothes get clean. When I overpack the washer with more clothes and use the same 1/3 cup of detergent, the clothes don't get as clean. When you overpack my classroom, it's not putting students first and will negatively affect their learning. Berkeley has a commitment to smaller class sizes and maintains a 20-to-1 average in the primary grades. West Contra Costa caps the primary grades at 22. Albany can do better and should do better for our youngest learners. I just want to do a few more seconds. Any money the district saves by cramming our classrooms to the gills is paid for with a drop in student achievement and teacher morale. The very definition of penny wise, pound foolish. Thanks for listening.
So that's it for our ATA speakers tonight. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for coming so much.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other public comments on matters. Oh,
Quick comment. I have one thing. All right, hi. I'm mostly here. I'm Jared Law. I teach at AMS. I'm mostly here in support of our bargaining team and all of the teachers who spoke tonight. But I'd also just like to make a request, something that the union has requested behind closed doors, but has not, as far as I'm aware, requested publicly. I think that greater transparency at the district office level could really help us out. This year, I know teachers who had difficulty accessing, say, healthcare for the first month of their employment because they weren't receiving emails back from the district office. And I know that ATA has requested a flow chart of like who does what at the DO, which is something that we had in the past but do not currently have. So we would just love to get that. And somebody, when I was telling them about this earlier, they also expressed that something that could be really helpful is, we do board spotlights on the different sites. Perhaps we could do a board spotlight also on the district office just to bring everything out in the open and make it clear like who's doing what and who people need to talk to if they need to get something done. I think some transparency would be helpful. Thank you.
Let me respond to that one, because one of the things we do on a regular basis is meet with the union leadership to address a number of issues, and those have been on the table and discussed. So we make sure we make that agenda item when we meet with ATA leadership next time and talk about how we can make sure that is an issue that's well known. So we appreciate that. So in terms of transparency, that's one of the things we've been applauded for. So hearing that that's an issue now with ATA, it's a mixed message for us, but we like to have that resolved in a very transparent way. Just thought I'd put that out there. Well, I don't want to counter all of that, but I just think
we just wanted to make sure you knew that the org chart, we have asked for that many times as well, and it's public. It's on the website, in our resources on the website. So if more information is needed.
So what we can do when we meet with ATA leadership next time is make this an agenda item, so to make sure that all the members are aware of the issues that were just raised, because we assume that that was transparent and permeated throughout the organization, but we can always go back and revisit and see how we can do it better. So thank you for that.
All right. Seeing no further public comment, we are going to move on to our spotlight. For our spotlight for ACC.
And for our spotlight, when we talk about the youngest learners, as you heard, as one of our focus areas that I was excited to hear about today, we're going to have our youngest learners spotlighted momentarily. And new to us as our new director, been here a few months, some of you may know him, others, this would be a reintroduction to our director of ACC, Joshua Reed.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Wells. I want to thank everyone for your time in taking this to take a look at Albany Children's Center and the amazing things that are going on down there. And I'll get right into it. I know we have a busy night. So I'm ready for the next slide. Okay, I'll go with a quick overview. We have a preschool program and we have a school-age program. Our preschool program is open 245 days a year. We're open from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have 5 rooms. Acorns is the largest room with 24 students. I was like, where are you? I know you're here. Jamie's here. Let's give her a shout out.
Recording in progress.
I was like, where'd you go? Jamie Shepard's here. She's the teacher for Acorns. Thank you for coming tonight. We have 3 other classrooms with 16 students each. That's Eucalyptus, Oaks, and Willows. And the teacher of Oaks is here. Carrie Shepard's here. And the teacher of Eucalyptus is here. We've got Virginia Plott. Thank you so much for coming. It's okay, I can do it in the dark. Just kidding. There it is. All right, but thank you, teachers, so much for coming. We also have one more classroom, Sequoias, that serves our students with exceptional needs. There are 6 students enrolled as of now. Students receive speech, language, and occupational therapy on site. So our school-age program, those are for students before and after school. Those students are at our elementary school sites. We have 182 days that we serve our students. That includes the 2 professional development days that teachers get to enjoy. Again, just like preschool, we provide care from 7:30 a.m. There's a little break in the middle because of school, and then we end at 6 p.m. for folks who have to pick up late. Our program at Pine serves 68 students. We have a Mandarin program, their language program, that serves 28 at Cornell. The Marin program has 52 students in the Magnolias classroom, and Tupelo has 83 students. Ocean View has 31 students in the Cedars program. Redwoods has 38. Maples serves 52 students, and our Mandarin program at Ocean View serves 28 students. Grab my water. So next I'll go over a typical day at the preschool level. So our amazing students enjoy these activities on a daily basis. We'll have a greeting and drop-off where the parents check in with the families, see how the children are doing. Students will roll into carpet time, then activity time. They'll have a snack. Then they'll get some outdoor play time, lunch, then a nap, which I would love. And there's more activity time in the middle, but then a pickup and a goodbye. I'll go through some beautiful pictures of children enjoying these things now. Okay, so here's carpet time. Here's, there you go. There's teacher Jamie. She's working with the children here. And carpet time it's kind of a precursor to kindergarten. They get to sit on the carpet. They get to practice some things like sitting properly, listening to the teacher, reading a big book, doing a nursery rhyme, calendars, another activity that they do. It's great. And as you can see, I think it's someone's birthday there. Yeah, I got it right. All right, next slide. Here's a shot of activity time. You can see we've got a lot of fun activities. We lay out the activities. The children get to choose. It's play-based. These activities are fun, but they're also learning fine motor skills, some gross motor skills. And we've got a lot of adults in the room helping out with the children. And we let the children choose. It's choice-based, and the children love it. It's a lot of fun. If you ever get a chance, come down to activity time at ACC. Okay, here's a fun shot. Students are playing at the water table. This is a great time for them to explore, kind of feel the texture of water. And a big thanks to the provider of the vests, because we don't want to send the children home wet. Here we are in front of the sandbox. Lots of fun, very big sandbox. It's a blast at the sandbox. They get to feel the textures, and they get to work with others, and that's really what preschool is about. We're going to communicate with each other and figure out how we navigate the world. Okay, a little more shot of activity time, but then now we have lunch. Lunch is a key component of the day, not only for the nutritious value that it provides, but also we eat family style. Family style dining is a preschool standard. We want students to be able to navigate a table. We want them to be able to ask for things, wait their turn. They learn table manners. They learn how to use utensils. And they get to enjoy having a meal with their friends. Who wouldn't like that? All right, finally nap time. It's okay, you can awe. They're beautiful and lovely in their napping little cots. But it's a lot of fun to see them, and even if they sleep sideways, as one of them's doing in that picture. Okay, so here we're getting back into it. This is in Virginia's room. Virginia's showing the students how to make beads with their bracelets, and that's the fine motor skills that they're going to need when they go to kindergarten, to be able to help them write, help them cut with scissors, and it's a fun way to help students learn their fine motor skills, their ability to manipulate small, tiny objects. Got a nice shot of the students painting. Again, these tiny paintbrushes help with the fine motor skills, and also it's art, and we want to have well-rounded students. We want to expose them to art as well as academics and science. All right, outdoor time, we've got the parachute. We've got students on the jumping blocks, and this is a great chance for the gross motor skills that children need to succeed in the K-12 classroom. Albany Children's Center has a ton of space, which we're very happy about. Gives the students a chance to run and play and have a great time, so great shots there, thank you. Okay, I'm going to roll right into our school age program. Albany Children's Center School Age Program serves 377 students at each elementary site. After a day of inspired learning, our school age students balance educational, social, and recreational opportunities in a relaxed setting. Students are able to enjoy games and puzzles, outdoor play, quiet reading, other activities in grade-alike groups. This is after school usually, sometimes before school. Students are given academic assistance as they complete homework assignments. And students are also engaged in extracurricular enrichment activities. These include art, science, mathematics, language arts, music and movement, as well as the Spanish and Mandarin language immersion program. So here's a shot that we hope will work. This is the Pines program in action. We don't have sound, but it's a great program. Oh, there it is. That was meditation, yoga. Learning a card game. This was Cinco de Mayo last year. Okay, that's just about everything. I want to throw out some thank yous to so many people. If I forget anyone, I start out by apologizing, but I have to start by thanking the teachers. Thank you, teachers, our paraeducators, our substitutes, and our secretary, Danielle Eichner. There's no harder working secretary in this district. Thank you so much, Danielle. We really appreciate you. Our central kitchen staff, our chef Ao, who provides meals and cooks things directly there, which is great. So we have fresh, delicious food. The custodial staff, technology services, facilities department, our special education department, and our adult transition program does help out the program directly by washing the sheets every week. So it's a great little program. I want to thank them specifically. The elementary principals, their office staff, all the folks who assist at sites. You have seen me probably saying things like, hey, help, I need in this door. What else? Albany Education Foundation. I've approved several grants this year. Our teachers are great about going to AEF asking for things. So thank you, Albany Education Foundation, for your support. Of course, Albany Unified District office staff and our executive cabinet, who is here tonight. Our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Ann Shin, thank you so much for your help with the program throughout the years. Superintendent Frank Wells, thank you for your leadership. The Board of Trustees, wouldn't be here without you. And of course, most importantly, the families and children who make up the program. I want to thank you guys so much.
All right, any oohs or ahs or comments? Oh, well, I did see my kiddo's socks in there, and I did say it, which is adorable. He's been like really resistant to programs outside of school, and he is loving the Pines at Cornell, like loving it. He said his favorite part is going out on that yard and doing yoga on the mats on the grass. Like he just loves it, and he comes home with Spanish all the time, and he's like, we learned this and that. So I just really appreciate it. It's turned into, it's always been a good program, and I feel like it's made a really strong comeback. Kind of this year, it's got some changes that you can really feel, and I've heard from other families that the ACC program is really rich. Yeah. We'll get to, we have a budget here, so I figure we'll go into those sections and the not so glowy part, okay? All right, perfect.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Nice glass, too. I like that one. It's got a good logo on it. Yeah. It's snazzy too. Okay, we are now going to move on to our resolution and recognition. This is so exciting. We're going to recognize October as Special Education Awareness Month.
Madam Chair, I'd like to turn this over to our Senior Director, Dr. Brian Biggs.
Please excuse me. I'm really excited to be here this evening. This is the third year that I get to bring to the board the resolution for recognizing Special Education Awareness Month. And we all know that I like to speak, but I brought out a bunch of individuals here who are near and dear to Albany Unified, from students to teachers and parents. Just a little quick background, 3 years ago, the Albany Disability Squad, which is an amazing advocacy agency for individuals with disabilities in our community, came out and said, we need to recognize special education. And so 3 years ago, we came and did our first resolution for the board. And so I'm really happy to be able to bring this back for this upcoming October to recognize Special Education Awareness Month. So with no further ado, I'm going to start and then pass off the mic. So can you... Yeah, okay. Whereas the Albany Unified School District Board of Education recognizes the integral role and influence of our students with disabilities and contributions of our special education staff and the rich history and achievements of individuals with disabilities, and recognizes the disability is part of human diversity and that discrimination and ableism limit opportunities of many people with disabilities, and whereas the Albany Unified School District serves approximately 525 students, formally identified with disabilities, representing roughly 15% of the total student population. And
whereas the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs, schools, transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the general public, and assures that people with disabilities have the same civil rights, protections, and opportunities as everyone else, similar to those provided to individuals on the basis of race, color, sex, national origin, age, and religion. And
whereas Section 504 of the Federal Rehabilitation Act regulations requires a school district to provide non-discriminatory and equal access to education, and
Act IDE requires all public schools to address the needs of eligible pupils with disabilities and develop individualized education plans, IEPs, which provide a free and appropriate public education, FAPE, in their least restrictive, most inclusive educational settings, and
whereas when reauthorizing the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, in 2004, Congress stated that disability is a natural part of the human experience and in no way diminishes the right of individuals to participate in or contribute to society. Improving educational results for children with disabilities is an essential element of our national policy of ensuring equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency for individuals with disabilities. And
whereas the Fair Education Act, enacted January 1st, 2012, requires that California schools provide fair, accurate, inclusive, and respectful, fair representations of people with disabilities and people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender in history and social studies curriculum, and mandate schools to include the contributions of people with disabilities and members of the LGBTQIA+ community in the curriculum. And whereas, despite the affirmative rights and appreciation for students with disabilities in our federal and state laws, students with disabilities suffer the worst academic and social emotional outcomes in our district, especially among students of color and English language learners. And
whereas, as educational leaders, the Board of Education and AUSD recognize that evidence-based instruction methods, universal design for learning, inclusive practices, restorative justice practices, social and emotional learning, bullying prevention and intervention, mental health supports, and authentic family engagement are proven to substantially improve the educational and equitable outcomes for all students, including students with disabilities, and
the Board of Education and AUSD recognizes that our students with disabilities are general education students first. The implementation of meaningful education of students with disabilities is a responsibility of all educators. Every educational, operational, and budget decision we make begins with and reflects the belief that students with disabilities have right and ability to learn alongside their non-disabled peers and provided with equitable and meaningful opportunities to learn and grow.
Whereas the Board of Education and AUSD recognize that school climate refers to the norms, values, and expectations that support people to feel physically, socially, and emotionally safe and connected. To be their best, students must feel a sense of connectedness and belonging to their school community. Specifically, schools that are committed to promoting a variety of positive relationships with caring adults will have more connected and engaged students with disabilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education and AUSD remain committed to working towards equitable outcomes for students with disabilities and support a vision of high expectation for all students and a commitment to learning goals, standards, interventions, and supports that are strong, clear, understood, and put into practice. And
be it further resolved that the Board of Education and AUSD value and support diversity and inclusion and recognize both the legal right to and the reciprocal benefits of inclusive education. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education and AUSD remain committed to ensuring the implementation and efficacy of a multi-tiered system of supports, MTSS, including an early identification and early intervention system to identify and document interventions for students whose performance and/or progress indicates that they are at risk for attendance, behavior, and of course, or course performance. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education recognizes the month of October as Special Education Awareness Month, recognizing and celebrating students with learning differences and individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. And be it further resolved that the superintendent transmit copies of this resolution to its administrators, teachers, staff, departments, and schools for appropriate distribution and implementation.
Okay, you gotta pass this one real quick. That was so good. Any questions or anything from the board? You guys, someone can make a motion, we can chat, whatever the board feels they want to do.
I'm going to move and then talk. I move that we approve resolution number 2023-24-03, recognizing October as Special Education Awareness Month.
Second.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're not, there's no way we can oppose that one. All right, Vice President Boyd, go for it.
I just want to quickly say thank you to everyone who's here tonight to present. And I also want to say thank you for educating me over these years that I've had the privilege of being a part of the Special Education Committee. And I just want to recognize the burden of having to educate people and explain your existence to people. I have some experience with that as a member of a minority group. I know it's tiring, and I know that it's not your job, and I appreciate each of you, what each of you does to help people who are having a different experience understand and learn and grow and be better and do a better job of being members of this society. And I just want to understand, I just want to acknowledge the weight of that, and thank you for everything that you do to make our district a better place for all of our students and for all of us.
For the sake of not getting emotional, I'm going to keep it short and just echo everything that Vice President Boyd said, but also just as a person with disabilities, like I truly, truly understand just how difficult it is to navigate the world, especially when many of us live with invisible disabilities that people don't see. But just so much gratitude to all the parents and all the caregivers and everybody that's in this room, and our teachers that support our students with disabilities, and just to make things just a little bit more equitable day by day. You guys are much appreciated, so thank you for all that you do. But yeah, just much love.
Okay, sometimes I feel like leaving it in the words of these others is the best, so I'm going to do that and just really appreciate all of you who came out tonight and all that you give to our community. It's amazing. And we have one public comment on this.
Well, there might be two, I think.
Oh, we have we have a virtual. I'll let go first, and then are you waiting to public comment here?
Sure,
Mary?
yes.
Okay, so 2 in person and 1 virtual. I'm going to go virtual first this time to mix it up.
Yep.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cheryl Thies, and I am an education advocate at the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund and a longtime Albany parent. I really just wanted to thank our superintendent and our board for being willing to, at a time of great challenges and difficulties in the COVID, I don't even know what to call it, episode, traumatic endeavor, but also since then, to really listen, engage, and authentically try to do the work. We have a lot of work to do still, but I really wanted to appreciate the fact that the board has been involved in many, many ways. Our superintendent, Dr. Wells, has been involved in many ways in making sure that concerns from the ground level, where things are really happening for our teachers and our kids and so on, don't get dismissed or just categorized in vague ways, but are really brought to life, and the board has really listened. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
So thank you to Dr. Brian Biggs for helping write and edit the resolution, and the superintendent and the board for passing it in. Today is very significant, not because of the resolution. I don't mean to deflate anyone, but today is exactly 50 years since the passing of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which includes Section 504. So this is very meaningful for any students across the United States who has a disability and who relies on services by the different districts. And I'm going to quote a great man who likes to say that people hear what you say, but they believe what you do. And so I hope that we can bring today and every day, and not just in the month of October, this resolution to life. And since there was a couple of Jewish holidays recently, I'm reminded of another Jewish holiday during which we would watch at home religiously the 10th Commandments. And there was a phrase that always stuck with me from Pharaoh, or at the time the prince who was aspiring to be the Pharaoh. And he would always punctuate new laws or things that they were supposed to do. So it shall be written, and so it shall be done. And so I hope that this resolution, as it is now written, it is done today and every day at AUSD. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Callahan, and I'm coming to you as a representative for the Community Advisory Committee at the North Region SELPA, and I'm so glad to follow you, Neri, because what I wanted to do is thank you for this beautiful resolution and bring us back to what I brought to the board in the spring around a way to demonstrate the board's initiative here that special education students are general education students first, and one way to really put your, walk the talk is to address this current organizational structure that silos the responsibility for special education students. And I asked, or the CAC is asking that Dr. Wells collaborate with Dr. Biggs to identify the appropriate standards related to SPED services for general education teachers, for paras, for resource teachers, special day class teachers, specialists, principals, and the superintendent, and have that specifically written into their performance evaluations so that there's some accountability around the compliance and the quality of deliverables for special education in general education and across the spectrum.
Good evening, board. I just wanted to share, I'm Sarah Haller. I'm a resource teacher. I've been in the district for about 10 years. This is my first time back at the podium in person since before the pandemic. And after I heard about what a special day it is with the 50th anniversary, I felt compelled to come up here and just really thank you all for, of course, giving us this opportunity to present to you this evening this wonderful resolution. Thank Dr. Biggs and all of the others who participated in creating it. But also, the point I wanted to share, being up here today and having stepped away from my family to come and speak on this topic that obviously I feel so passionately about, having spent my entire career doing special education, I wanted to just name how difficult it is to find individuals who really do have the ability to kind of make it through the hard times and stick around. And, we talk about that as retaining, right? Retaining the best educators. Well, first we have to recruit them, of course, and we all have been talking together quite a bit about what we need to do to first recruit them and then, of course, retain them. So I think we've heard a lot of ideas already. I'm not going to get into the details, but I'm just pointing out that this work is really most often done best by folks that are truly passionate and committed to serving individuals with exceptional needs, and those individuals are hard to come by, right? When you think of how many people go into the teaching profession and you think of it as a percentage, I don't know the number offhand, but I would imagine it's a very low percentage compared to the total number of aspiring teachers, right? So to find individuals that want to do this work and want to stick through the hard times is hard to do, and we need to make sure that we're working constantly towards improving the working conditions, which is therefore going to improve the outcomes for students and going to support us in our ever so important endeavor of recruiting and retaining high-quality educators who are extremely passionate and committed. Thank you.
Okay, we have one more virtual comment I'm going to let in here, and then we are going to close it out.
Hi, my name is Sweta Chawla, and I'm a mom of a child with an IEP. And I just want to really celebrate this resolution passing and to thank the acknowledgement of the challenges of educating specifically on invisible disabilities. And I would love to continue this by bringing awareness into on campuses as well, and I have lots of ideas for that, and as I suggested it to our disability squad, a point of most of us that are doing the advocating are also the parents of these special needs kids that are very under-resourced and really stretched. So I'd love to see collaboration with the administration, other parents, other PTA groups, to be able to bring what we're doing here today on all the campuses.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. We know what it means to, what it's like to come here and also to bring your students. And thank you to all of you, our young learners and our older learners and almost not one of our learners maybe, as you graduate out, Leo. That is you. Thank you all for coming and getting up there and being so brave and speaking and sharing this with us. We really appreciate it. Yeah. All right, one last round of applause and we're going to move on. All right, we are now going to approve our consent calendar or take any questions or comments on the consent calendar. Okay, any questions or comments on our consent calendar? Any motions to approve?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Consent calendar passes. Great. We are now going to move on to our student board member reports.
All right, so first off, with Student Advocacy Committee, we're continuing to plan out how to establish the JSAC, which is the Junior Student Advocacy Committee at the middle school. And at yesterday's meeting, we actually got a few volunteers that want to do that. So as of now, we're just trying to figure out what time works best for both the high schoolers and the middle schoolers. And then we're going to send out a sign-up form for the middle schoolers as soon as possible. And then we're also finishing a form to be sent out to McGregor students, and we're hoping to collect information about their experiences at McGregor, what they like and what they don't like, and what can change. And we're trying to run that survey by Mr. McNally and also some teachers at McGregor and get that out as soon as possible as well.
And then for AHS, the early decision / early action packet is due this Friday. That's if you're applying early to any colleges. That's for your counselor recommendation letter, so you should get that done this Friday. And then also, homecoming starts next week. And then for AMS, there's an AMS library fundraiser that ends this Friday. It's a joint fundraiser with Pegasus on Solano, so if you order online or if you go in person, just make sure to mention Albany Middle School, and 1% of the funds will go to the library.
And just another small note, there's no school for students on October 9th because of Staff Development Day.
That concludes our report. Thank you.
Awesome. Really appreciate that ending, so I know. Okay, we are now going to move on to our staff report on the Albany Children's Center budget projections for the 2023-2024 preschool and school-age programs.
This matter would be turned over to our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Ann Shin.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Superintendent Wells, Board Trustees, District Leadership Team, Albany educators, and community. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present the Albany Children's Center's budget projection for this school year.
I guess I was just going to ask, realizing that Josh stepped out, do we want to flip it and give him a few more minutes?
He'll be in by the time I finish. He just went to go get water by the time I finish the intro. Yes, okay. No, he'll be here. Okay. So now I forgot where I was. I just said thank you. I just said hello to everyone, right? Good evening. Okay. Okay, great. So we're here to present the budget projection for the Albany Children's Center for this school year for our school age as well as preschool program. And we are elated to be able to share good news with you tonight. At the same time, I want us to be reminded that for the past several years, the Albany Children's Center had been faced with some budget challenges, and the district, as a response, implemented a strategic plan to make necessary adjustments to bring our budget to fiscal solvency. And I'd like to truly appreciate CBO Kim, as well as Chief Human Resources Officer Marina Gonzalez, for working closely with me to restructure our tuition fees in order to bring us to a more competitive rate, as well as realign our staffing ratios to better reflect our student enrollment. I also would like to deeply appreciate our fabulous secretary of the Albany Children's Center, Ms. Danielle Eichner, for working with me to complete all of the surveys, the forms, the reports, the applications in order to continue to secure state funding, as well as the additional one-time funding that is reflected within our budget this year, which is adding to our positive fund balance. And a special shout out to our wonderful teachers for working with me to give me historical knowledge and being patient through this process of onboarding our new director. And of course, we are so grateful to have our new director, Joshua Reed, on board. He has been working diligently to expand enrollment and enhance program quality in the 3 months that he has been on the job. So without further ado, I am happy to call him to the podium to share more detailed information about our positive budget projection.
Thank you, Thank you, Dr. Shin. So we'll get started right away. And here we are, our budget projections for this year. I'm going to get into some little technical stuff. It's how subsidies work and how we get paid. If we had 11 hours, I couldn't explain it all. It's from the state, so it gets a little wonky, but let's get started. Okay, so I'll go over the agenda. I'm going to start with our preschool subsidized family fee structure, the income eligibility and those subsidies. I'll go into the reinstatement of family fees for some families. I'll explain that when we get to the slide. Next is school age subsidized family fees. The income ceilings, or how families qualify for care, subsidized care for each program. I'll then talk about the full cost family fees. Full cost are families who do not receive subsidies. I'll be saying that tonight a couple times. And finally, our budget projections for each program. Okay, so preschool subsidized family fees, income eligibility and subsidies. Families qualify for subsidies by having an income less than 85% of the state median income. The income eligibility is adjusted for size, and because we are located in Alameda County, we receive a larger, a regional market rate, which is $79.39 for a full day. And a full day is defined as 30 hours of care a week, or roughly 6 hours a day. But it's really 30 hours of care a week. The day can fluctuate. Okay, for our California pre-state preschool program, the family fees had been waived between July 1st of 2023 and September 30th. Starting next week, or really in a few days, on October 1st, the family fees are going to come back. Here's the good news. The family fees are limited to 1% of a family's income. So if they make less than 85% of the state median income, they will have to pay a fee no more than 1% of their monthly income. Anyway, families with incomes that are below 75% of the state median income will not have any family fees. And my last bullet point, if there's a family fee who had debt, who did not pay their fees, we can forgive their fees. We don't have any families in that case, but I just wanted to make sure we knew. Okay, so school age subsidized family fees. It's slightly different, pretty similar though. Again, 85% or less than the state median income qualify. For school age, we get a smaller rate per day, less hours of care. We get $47.75. That again is the regional market rate because we're in Alameda County. And we don't get paid if we don't have students there or if we don't have a reason why they were out. So attendance and reconciling absences is very important. We want to make sure we have a good reason why folks were out. Okay, this is where it gets a little wonky. So here are our income ceilings for the fiscal year 23-24, and this is how families qualify. So our first column here under family, that's family size, and I highlighted a family of 4. So a family of 4, the median income for our state for a family of 4 is $113,000 roughly. Their monthly income is about $9,500. So families are eligible for subsidies if they earn less than 85% of state median income. So in this case, a family of 4 would qualify if their yearly income was less than $96,000 roughly, or if their monthly income was less than $8,024. That's why Danielle has to go through so many forms and things, and we have to ask a lot of questions. And when you sign up for preschool and we say, give us your pay stubs, people are like, wait, what? But hopefully you can qualify and you won't have to pay very much. Okay, so this is our full cost slide. So our full cost revenue from preschool and school age. For preschool, we expect about $30,000 a month from full cost families. That projects out to about $340,000 this year. I know it's not a perfect 12 times 30,000. There's a dip in attendance in the summer, so that's why we're a little below 360,000. And then for school age, our revenue we expect each month to be roughly $130,000 each month. And over 10 months, that projects out to $1.3 million for this year from full cost families. Okay, so here's our budget projection for 23-24. I'm not going to read everything, but I'll just go really quickly over it. Our revenue with our state revenue and we had some one-time funding we left over from COVID. The parent fees, we get some money from food. That other of 272 we found out was a donation. So we should make $1.9 million this year, and our expenditures are less than that. It's about 1.8. So we're going to make about $113,000 this year, we project. And then for school age, something similar. We're going to end up with the total revenue of just over $2 million. Our expenditures are also closer to $2 million. So we're going to make just over $70,000 this year. So far, things are looking great. I want to thank everyone for keeping us in the black and all the great work everyone has done. I don't want to go over every line item. I'm not sure how much. Well, we can get to the weeds later. Thank you, Dr. Wells. Let's keep rolling, and that's pretty much it. What questions do you guys have? I try to go quickly. The board's time is important.
Cool. Do we have any questions?
While folks are thinking about their questions, I want to highlight a point that Director Joshua Reed made, along with Dr. Shin. Over the years, folks who are familiar with ACC, we have been coming up short. And the board has been demanding that, in their unique, creative way, that we make it a program that's solvent. And we're just ecstatic that they have gone more independent, and it's a program that doesn't infringe on the general fund, and so it doesn't have an adverse impact on our budget, and yet we serve our most vulnerable kids, our youngest kids, and so this program needs to be treated with much care and soft hands. And we're just so ecstatic about the program because some of the things that were not talked about, we have the most stable workforce. We have teachers with 25 plus years, and so the folks who come to our program, they get something special and unique because of our teacher experience and highly skilled set, and we don't talk about that enough. And so I just wanted to highlight that piece. So thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, so there was the one-time funds. How are those impacting net increases? Someone said earlier, we had there's this one-time additional state funding. Do we think we'll still see this increase next year if we don't get that, or where will we sit?
Here's the great news. We're getting that money this year, so we're great this year. The state always seems to find a way to give a little extra something to the preschool. At the same time, I'm not counting on that. I think we could be a little more efficient with some of our financial decisions. The increase in fees has really helped. We can maybe be a little more efficient with staffing and other programming to make sure that we don't go into the red, but I project us to be fine for years to come. I'm hoping to build a surplus and have a rainy day fund, so don't cross your fingers for me.
Or just, keep I'm all for rainy day funds, but I'm also for using the money to support the kids. So if it helps us get, I don't know, a parrot in there sometimes or something like that, or makes a space, I'm like, if we can make it up there and we can be solvent, then that's great, with a little bit of a cushion. That's just me. One other question. This all looks great. I always wonder, so in the after-school one, we've been getting asked a lot about space and, is it a potential? Is there a way with all of this? Because if we add a few more kids, do we balance out better? Have there been any projections on that?
Well, so this is what's great about this business. The state has given us, we're funded. I mean, I know how if we've been in education for years, we always were like, oh, we're not quite fully funded. So the fact that the state is giving this amount to us, we will be fine if we have more students. Either the families pay or the state will pay us. So we can handle more students. The question is, where do we put them? But if we needed to expand the program, I believe we could.
We could expand our before and after care.
If there was room. I don't think there's tons of room. And also it's hard to hire. I mean, well, that's what happened in our beginning presentation earlier this month.
Are we maxed out on our ratios right now for staff to students?
Yeah,
Across
we are.
all campuses?
I believe so. I think we have 2 spots in preschool, but that's not what you're asking. You're asking school age. Yeah, school age, we're maxed out. We're fitting people in for like an hour. They're like, can we be in this? We're like, oh, actually that hour does work. So we're getting into the kind of really granular in terms of whether or not we can serve a family. But unfortunately, we're stacked to the gills.
Okay. I'm going to keep advocating that we try to see what we can do for the game in town.
Right.
To offer more in our game because the requests are there and our families really need it. And from what I'm hearing in feedback, we're offering something that people are really wanting right now. And that feels great for our district. And it also feels great that it's so, it's just this, I'm running words in my head right now. It's like continuous in the kids' day. It's all in one. I think of the contiguous United States. It's all in one place. Right. It's kind of all by the same people on the same team. Right. Not that we don't, no shade on you guys for ELOP, but it's just a great thing. So if we can figure this out and we can get creative a little bit, I think that would be really awesome. And I think our community has been asking all of us for it repeatedly. So let's keep that at the forefront. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to say thank you, and it's much appreciated just having the clarity. Also, just amazing that we're not in the red anymore, and we're actually we're saving. So that's awesome. And just echoing what President Davidson said about just hopefulness for more space, because we definitely do need it. I know we need physical space to make that work, but would love to continue having that conversation and figuring out what we can do there. But thank you so much.
Absolutely. I would be remiss if I didn't thank CBO Kim for her help with this presentation, and Ms. Marina and Danielle and Dr. Shin. Thank you so much.
Well, just to illuminate a point, our teachers' commitment is just amazing. You have here tonight the preschool staff at 8-something at night who have to be up early in the morning for our youngest learners. And if you could stand so we can acknowledge you and give you a much-deserved round of applause. Now go home, go to bed, and get some sleep.
And hopefully we'll keep having an update on that shade structure out there over the sandbox. Yeah, there's conversation. All right. Any public comment on this item? All right. With that, our report on the ACC budget is adjourned. What a difference from the ones in the past. Go around and around and back and forth and try to figure it out. It's also really nice to have like dedicated team at the helm. The feeling is really different than it was before, so we appreciate that, and I appreciate our district for making sure we could fund that. We will now move on to our 2023 summer programs, the district summer programs, and the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, otherwise known as ELOP.
And up next, Madam Chair, for this program will be Dr. Shin again. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Shin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wells. Good evening again, and thank you so much for this opportunity to share information about our summer program. This past school year, we were able to provide 2 summer programs on one campus at the Ocean View campus. We had both our district summer school as well as our newly launched Expanded Learning Opportunities summer program. And through both programs, we were able to serve close to 400 students. Yes, 400 students, close to, with robust staffing. And I really stress robust staffing. In this day and age where staffing shortage is common and other programs were unable to staff, our ELOP program as well as our district summer school was able to recruit and hire and train qualified, compassionate, collaborative, caring staff. And I know this from observing the program firsthand, as well as receiving feedback that these staff work diligently to support our students, and they kept the physical, mental, as well as emotional health and wellness of our students at the core of their programs. So I'd like to deeply appreciate the leadership of our district summer school program, Mr. Eric Mapes, as well as the leadership of the YMCA, Fran Galati, who is our ELOP partner in, again, recruiting and hiring highly qualified, caring staff who did their very, very best to provide enriching academic as well as hands-on fun experiences for our students. And thank you so much for being here tonight to share more detailed information about these programs. So first I'm going to call up to the podium Mr. Eric Mapes to talk about our district summer school program, and then we'll hand it off to Fran.
Well, thank you, Dr. Shin. I really appreciated working with you this summer. Dr. Wells, trustees, thank you for having me tonight. I get to brag a little bit about our summer program. When I heard about the summer program, I was very happy when I was accepted as the principal of summer school. I've missed working with high school students the last 4 years, going back to middle school after being at the high school level for 7 years. So to be able to work around elementary students that when I was a child, my mom was a secretary at Cornell, and I was able to work with the little kids. That's how I started my career. And then I became a middle school teacher, and so it allowed me to work with all the different groups. It was a wonderful program. So we were down at Ocean View, and we knew we were going to be joining, ELOP program was going to be joining us, the YMCA. So we had to look at how we were going to, where we were going to be. So we decided that our program would be predominantly upstairs. And we had 20, I call it 20 days of fun. So we started, the first day of school was June 12th, and we finished on July 12th with a couple of days off in between to give 3-day and 4-day holidays. And we had a total of 192 students, which is a really nice group. I want to say that there was a lot of planning that went into this. A lot of people, a big commitment. I want to thank specifically Deb Brill. She really helped me along the way to get everything set up, and Dr. Biggs for the extended school year program. So there was a lot of people, and I'll mention that a little bit as I go. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So one of our programs was the extended school year program, and we had 4 different groups. We had our preschool classroom, our elementary school classroom, middle school, and high school. At the preschool, we had 9 students. The elementary, we had 13. Middle school, we had 8. And the high school transition classroom, we had 10 students. So we had 40 students total. We invited more, but not all were able to attend. It's really hard to ask people to miss that time during the year. We had 4 teachers, and we had 16 paraprofessionals working with our students on a daily basis. The day started at 8:30 in the morning, and for most of the students, it ended at 12:30, but we did have a few students who came in on at 12:30 and stayed until 1:30. So it did go on a little bit longer. Students, we had food for the students, which was really nice. They had fun together. We had our high school students. They were making coffee once a week. They were going on field trips. There was a buzz at the school. It was a lot of fun to go in and say hi into the classrooms and participate in what they were doing. So that was the extended school year. And we really wanted to work with our ELD population. The idea was to try to work with our 5th graders coming into middle school, transitioning, and our 8th graders transitioning into high school. But again, you're asking people to take summers. People have a lot of things they're doing. So what we had to do is we did not have enough students in fifth grade who volunteered to be in the program, so we also included some 4th grade students. And there were 24 students in that ELD classroom. In the 6th through 8 classroom, again, we didn't have enough 8th graders who were willing to participate, but we had a total of 19 students in the 6th through 8. And all of our teachers are certificated in what they were teaching. We had a very diverse staff. We had a lot of veterans, and we had people who showed up every day ready to have fun, and you're asking students to be there and to learn and participate, and it was a great time in those classrooms too. So that started at 8:30 in the morning, and those classes went until 11:30. So we had 2 teachers, 1 for each program, and 1 paraprofessional in there helping as well. So we had 2 adults in each classroom. And then the summer connection, social emotional, we really worked with the elementary teachers, asking if there were students who would really benefit from being part of a social emotional focused program. And so they gave us a list of students to invite, and we invited all the students. And in the end, we ended up having 26 students between the 2 sessions. So we offered 2 sessions, 2 different teachers, both with a mental health background, who were at the high school and the middle school wellness programs. Mr. Kaysen and Mr. Jackson, and that started at 9:30 in the morning and went until 11:30 in the morning. And that was really around play. They played a lot of games together. It was a lot of bonding. It was a lot of teamwork. So that was part of that program. Next slide, please. And then we had the high school program. So at the high school program, I worked a lot with the high school counseling team, and they were amazing. And we put a lot of announcements in the morning, announcements for students around what we're changing the remediation to elevation, grade elevation, which is when a student has a D in a class. They can take grade elevation and raise that grade up by taking summer school. We also had grade recovery for students who received an F in a class that they need for graduation. Now, because the class, it's only 20 days, and and those classes were from 8:30 in the morning to 11:30, that only totaled 60 hours. So they're only able to get 1 semester's worth of credit. So that was something I wanted to bring your attention. We had 4 teachers. We had 2 math teachers, 1 English and 1 social studies. The English and social studies teachers actually taught summer school last year. So it was great to be able to bring them back with that experience. And then we had a very dynamic, Miss Fisher and Miss Swain were our math teachers, and they collaborated, and it was a very large program and very successful. If you go to the next slide, you can see how many students were in each of those classes. If you notice, there was a lot of students in Math 1. And I want to give credit to the students. They showed up every single day. We only had 3 students who started the program and didn't finish because they missed too many days. So you were only able to miss 3 days of school to stay in the program, and we had almost all of our students finish. And looking at their grades in across all subject matter, 52% of the students received A's, 31% received B's, and 11% received C's. And then there were 6% of the students who were no marks because they did not attend enough. Let me see, what else do I have I want to share? So when it comes to the number of who were the students, I want to talk about that for a minute too. So out of the students who signed up for summer school for credit recovery and credit elevation, 54% were there for credit recovery. So they needed to replace an F with a different grade. And 46% were there for credit elevation. So that was kind of the breakdown of where our students were. You know, it's high school. It was fun to go in there and watch them learn and review and accelerate in some of the concepts they may be struggling with to try to fill those gaps so they can improve when they get to their next step in their high school. And that is about it. I do want to say, if you go to the last slide, as I said before, it was a very collaborative effort. It took teachers, counselors, the district office. It took maintenance and facilities, food service. There was parents making sure their kids got there on time. There were a lot of kids getting dropped off and picked up every day. Opened up their school to us, and that's a big ask. Principal Delgado was very helpful, showed me around. You know, that the team there, the custodial staff, they were really helpful. There was a lot to do when you're thinking about moving high school kids and middle school kids to an elementary campus. And I also really want to thank the YMCA. It was a really good partnership. We worked really well together. We figured out when they were going to use the blacktop and when we were going to use the blacktop, and there were 2 different places where kids could go, and we really just figured it out when they joined us. They joined us, I think, halfway through, and it was a nice. There was a lot of energy. There was excitement. The kids were having fun, and so. I will take questions in a minute, but I want to pass the mic off to Mr. Fran Galletti, the CEO of the YMCA. Thank you. Get out of your way.
Thanks. Before I start, I just want to say that my whole team thought the site was so well led. We've been on a lot of campuses, and when you have multiple audiences, and for what they said about him was fantastic. You know, he set the right tone. He was welcoming. You know, you've got to negotiate space. That can turn into a Hatfield McCoy's event. It was his leadership that really kind of drove the whole campus mindset, and I think that's worth mentioning because it gets crowded out there. But it was an energetic summer, and so we're going to go into our presentation, which I'm looking at on my screen. It's short and sweet. My team will be in your schools tomorrow, so I didn't keep them out late tonight. So you've got Michael and I, and he might chip in. So it's our first summer ELOP program here in Albany. The dates were June 19th to June 28th. So we ran a 6-week program at Ocean View, as was just stated. All 3 elementary schools and the middle school all participated in the program. Some kind of hard facts to know. We had 170 children. Which was a good number. I think the demand or the number that we started with was much broader in terms of the potential need, but this was a good first year. We had a short promotion ramp. We had a short on-ramp to do a whole bunch of things. The key to this was our leadership team assembling the staff team, and what they did, because this was a new site, a new location, is they picked from other sites and they tried to blend experienced team members with some new team members. And I think we got the right recipe. It was a good summer, some room for improvement though. Here are our numbers from TK all the way up to 6th grade. 31 in kindergarten, 31 in first grade, 27 in second, 28 in third, 25 in fourth, 17th in fifth, and it kind of drops off, actually. And the demand after school drops off, and it can drop off in middle school. These were our program goals as we started this summer. We wanted to bridge the summer enrichment and learning gap. These are kids that don't often get fee-based programming, so we really wanted to bridge that gap. Social and emotional learning across the board is a goal in almost every single program, especially coming out of the pandemic. We had certain behaviors, and you're going to see that with kids. They haven't been around kids as long. You know, it's not a consecutive thing. So whether it's language, inappropriate touching, those are all things we expect and all things that we dealt with this summer. We wanted them to make new friends, and that was really good. Actually, kids made a lot of new friends. And in your district, what happens is people come in with requests. Got to be with Johnny, got to be with Susie. We saw that kind of break down throughout the whole summer and saying, you know what, I don't mind if I mix and match, and meeting other kids and, you know, being in new experiences is pretty important. And the last goal is always to have fun in a safe environment. So our primary activities that we try to achieve these goals were STEM, engineering and creative thinking, social and emotional learning. There's a lot of ways to do that. I think he illustrated some really great ways too. There's simple group check-ins. You ask the kids how they're doing, how they're feeling. You have gratitude circles and things like that. Arts and crafts was one of our highlights. One of our teachers is actually an art expert, so the kids had a blast with that. And physical activity, sponge relay races, scavenger hunts, just open sports pickup games on the court. Some of the themes that we covered: summer is sweet, lights, camera, action. We overcame the writer's strike here in Albany. We did it. Holidays around the world, Throwback Week, Witches, Wizards, and Magic, and Tropical Getaway. So here are some pictures of what the kids are doing a little bit of artwork out on the blacktop, displaying their artwork, and some physical play. So that's a little bit about us. For me, the highlights were actually being in a collaborative environment on the whole campus. The journal writing was really good. Physical activity and the artwork were really good. Lastly, what I want to say about the program are for next summer. This is what we think needs to happen next. Number one, get a jump on early registration and get as much information on the kids as we can, whether they have an IEP, a behavior plan, all those things. We got them on day one. We were all rushing to get this program off the ground. So we need a little bit earlier. That was nobody's fault, by the way. This is what it was like across the board in a lot of districts. But a lot of the kids have special needs that we had to catch up to, we weren't necessarily really planned for. A parent orientation would be really helpful across the board, just to kind of set expectations. And, early on, people kind of want to a la carte the program. I like Mondays and Wednesdays, but, we might do this and that. As we progressed in the summer, attendance and daily attendance actually improved. The kids wanted to come back, so that was really good. The third thing, and this is our team thinking about what they did on the ground, and we hope, by the way, and think that there would be a benefit to coming back and using the same summer campus, because learning the campus is a little bit of a learning curve, right? So with that said, if that were the case, is really to refine the curriculum based on the kids here in Albany. It's been a little bit different in every single district. And the last thing, we didn't get to this, but it was kind of like we were swallowing a big bubble. We want to pick the right end of summer parent evaluation tool. I don't know what that's going to look like, but we need to give some thought to that next summer. So that's it for the summer 23. And I guess, I don't know if you're coming back up or we do questions together, but happy to take questions now.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. It's always fun to see pictures of the kids in action. I love that. It helps give us such an idea. Anybody have questions up here? Comments?
I
had one actually for Principal Mapes. You mentioned that because the kids who were there for grade sort of elevation, etc.,
Yes.
only had 60 hours total, so that could just be one semester of a class.
Correct.
Do you think in future, and this may be a conversation for another time, but just superficially, do you think it's something that we could actually achieve to offer more hours in the same period of time? Because you said it was like sort of 2 hours of instruction.
So it's 3 hours a
3 hours
day.
per day, okay.
So it would be
quite
it would have to be something where you would have an afternoon session.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, just curious from a sort of.
Maybe. I mean, it would be nice, but it's a lot to ask of students who had a full year of school and to take classes in the morning and afternoon.
So it might be enough and just having that.
But it could be something we could explore by seeing if there's interest. That might be the first piece.
Yeah. No,
And you know, I want to start the process a little sooner with the high school. But you know, again, it's if there are other things, a lot of students couldn't do it because they had tournaments. They were traveling. I mean, they had to make decisions, and so some did change their plans, but a lot weren't able to. Most of the students who signed up ended up showing up on the first day. There were a few who didn't, but for the most part, people who said they were coming did show up.
well done to you and your team. I mean, to be able to see those grades at the end of that session must have felt.
It was a very strong teaching team. They knew what they were doing. They had the curriculum. They knew what their objectives were. They knew what the kids needed to do. I was very happy with the 4 teachers, and I've actually already started recruiting them for next year. So it would be nice to have that consistency, because they also started getting to know each other and working together. And so I don't know if having it at the Ocean View campus next year is something that might be better to have it at the middle school or high school if possible. But you know, there was a lot of things going on at the different school sites this summer, as you all know, which was great. So it was just nice that we had a campus like Ocean View, which is a beautiful campus to be able to use for the summer. So yeah, of course.
I think I was just going to say it was really awesome to hear your presentation, especially, correct me if I got it wrong, but you said only 6 students didn't
5 students.
Five. Okay, see? Thank you for correcting me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's wonderful to see that level of just engagement from the students and for them to be able to do
And we tried to get the students who were missing 2 days, we'd make the phone call, like, please don't miss a 3rd day.
Yeah.
And then they would, and then we'd have to make that phone call. A couple of them made it almost to the end, which was the hard part. Yeah.
So kudos to y'all, because that does take a lot, because nobody wants to spend their summer in school. But yeah.
Well, and I had a great secretary. Christian Akala was amazing. He works at the middle school, so I want to give him credit too. He made a lot of phone calls up till the summer school began and then through the summer. So he worked really hard in his role. So we were good. We were good partners in summer school. So yeah.
My other comment was for, I'm going to butcher your name, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But I just wanted to appreciate some of the thinking ahead for next summer. I really do appreciate especially the parent orientation. I think that is something that a lot of parents would really appreciate, just knowing what to expect going into it, what the expectation is for students, what the expectation is for parents. So I appreciate that y'all are thinking ahead, because I mean, like you said, it's nobody's fault that we were on such a crunch time, but just the fact that you guys still put it all together and are now planning for next year, that's really I do appreciate it. I also just appreciate just wanting to refine it more so based on our students and what our students' needs are. I guess a part of me even wonders if there's a way to kind of look at some of assuming some of the students might continue on, started in the summer, are now currently doing it, will potentially continue in the summer, just kind of, like you said, kind of refining it more towards the students, what their needs might be. I mean, I don't know what that could look like or if that's even possible, but just having that in the back of your mind, I guess, early is always good. But
Yeah, no, I think it is possible, especially since we're doing the ELOP program at the 3 schools and the middle schools. So I think the ramp going in next summer will be, it'll be steeper, we'll have greater enrollment. They'll know the kids already. and they'll already have a kind of a deeper working knowledge of Albany Unified School District in the spaces that they're in. Right now, current ELOP programs, they're almost all full based on the capacity for each school. And the one that we really want to take a deeper look at is the middle school program. That's the area where we're going to lose a lot of kids to after-school programs. We've got an older model, and we need to tap an old director who used to run a purely academic achievement-based program here in Albany, which took off, and it was a fee-based program. And he's now an advocate in Sacramento right now, working on the Hill and that sort of thing. But we're going to get in touch with him and kind of get a little bit of guidance, because he seemed to have the right touch. And I think in this district, not more than any other, but I think, having the right framework, always with middle school kids, is really important. So, it'll take a lot of conversations, a lot of planning. The other thing, though, looking at the student population as well, one of the things we're looking at big picture right now is becoming a vendor for the East Bay Regional Center. And that's, that way we can get instructional aids for kids that have extreme needs and things like that. So we're in a process right now with them for our early childhood program, and it extends to the after-school program as well. So hopefully we'll see that coming. So I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can just call me Fran, by the way. Everyone gets the last name wrong. And they assume it's somewhat Italian-based, so they don't even try.
I wanted to try, but then I just, Frank, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay.
I have a couple of questions. Yeah. So I just want to go over this real quick. We required that there was a really long full day that was required in this program. Was it like 9 hours that they had to be there? Yep. How's that? How did that go? Is there a change maybe in the works for that for next year? Do we think that deterred people?
It went well. I think the kids were used to in the summer program being there for the whole day, and so I think it went well. We were trying to really work with staff to make sure they were doing enough planning to make sure there was enough activities to keep the kids busy. So I think that is where our focus is going to continue to be.
Yeah, we're generally speaking, we're used to providing full day, full year care. For us, the planning, and Vicky and Lupe, who are the two Lupe is really assigned to your district, they do a good job with the team on the ground, kind of co-creating a curriculum, and that spark, I think, is good. We weren't worried about that as much, because they were going to figure that out. They were going to plan, they were going to do that. I was more worried about having no break between the summer and the ELOP fall program. And so, in a way, it actually worked to our benefit that we shrunk the summer 1 week. And I think it was Ann's call, and I appreciate her going, you know what, Fran, let's just crunch it down a week, give another week for planning. But it gave our teams a little bit of time to transition better. That was a bigger concern, because right now the way it works is, you've got the intersession, you've got the summer and the school year, and you're going to use the same team and burn them out all the way through the year. So that's a bigger concern for us, is like, how do we get the team, just like your team, how do you get them a break? Because this, the team needs R&R, and they come back stronger when they happen. Generally speaking, though, they like kids, and they're along a spectrum. The more experienced ones are really seasoned. They know how to endure a 9-hour day, and it takes endurance. And the younger ones, hopefully, they're gonna pay attention to what's going on with the older staff. So that's a little bit about what that looks like. Yeah. Other questions?
Yeah. So I guess my last one is, just keeps coming up in the back of my mind, and I know this is sort of how the program was, the money was designed from the government. Mm-hmm. But I've watched other districts kind of do it differently. So there's a challenge to all of us. I still feel like we are running separate programs.
Yep.
And we are putting students who qualify for this program into this program, which means that we are segregating our students into those who qualify because of circumstances, and then those who don't are in our other programs or going other places. So I want us to look really critically at these decisions that we've made, and how, and I think I heard I want to make sure that this is clear in my mind, that we could not run a fee-based YMCA program in the same physical space as the ELOP program.
Well, yeah, really good question, and let me back up. Like the underlying thought that you have about integrating students or people of all walks and backgrounds, I think is the right idea. You know, if you go in the Berkeley Y, the Albany Y, I know you know the Berkeley Y really well, the mayor is going to be next to somebody who's homeless, because the homeless guy got a scholarship. Nobody knows the better, right? They go work out together, play together, grow together, thrive together. So we think that model fits through and through from birth all the way to death. We believe that it's in our DNA. This summer in particular, and I'll address the challenge in a minute, we had to, and superintendent and mission were both, wanted to make sure that any kid that qualified for ELOP got ELOP programming. We were on board with that. They were right. That's what the program was designed for. So we held off to the very end, and then it was sort of too late to make a lot of adjustments. So I'm not sure what it will look like next year. The challenge, though, is this. The way ELOP is funded is based on a ratio, one student for X number of kids. Don't ask me tonight to quote what it is. And if you blend that with a child care program, you have to meet the standard of the highest level of whatever program you're in. That would mean that you would have to meet a child care standard for ELOP programming, and there's just not enough ELOP funding to do that, to be frank. The ratios are much greater in ELOP. Could we blend the two programs? I think it would take a little bit of art, but it's possible. It's possible. I'll just share one last thing on that topic, because we're thinking about it a lot too, because we definitely want to blend kids, and I know the superintendent wants to as well. So in other campuses, what we've done is we've run parallel programs, and the ELOP and the child care program, or the ELOP and the fee-based camp program, come together for different activities. And that way, so they might come together for play groups, or they might come together for opening session, but we'll map it out so maybe a couple times a day, they'll have a full hour, hour and a half together, and you get the integrated activity. It's not a perfect answer. I think you have the right question, but there are some underlying things that make it a little bit challenging, maybe not impossible to do. Last thing, though, is if we could wrap, I think to do that model really well, we definitely need to raise funds to support that idea, and that might be something that our local branch board could get behind in terms of fully integrating a program.
But we would also be talking about it being a fee-based program for any students that did not qualify
Right.
for ELOP, right? I mean,
Right.
I think that's one way to.
That's the idea, yeah. And economic integration with kids is really good. There is an adjustment hump, though. They're different kids. Oftentimes, they're different kids, different challenges. And so, you know, educating the mass parent group is part of it, you know? Bumps, bruises, things on the playground, you know, those have to be managed well and communicated really well to the parents. But I think your idea and your question it's the right question. Yeah.
This is an interesting concept because, you know, this happened so quickly, and the criteria just came out overnight, and then the intention, you know, were well intended in terms of the funding and the criteria to help the most needy kids, but it wasn't well thought out in Sacramento yet. And so we're providing feedback to Sacramento. But one of the things we have to do in the interim, and I was in Sacramento last week, and one of the things we were talking about this was the ELOP program, because we now have a segregated program unintentionally. And so how do we make it a mainstream program where all kids are included? So it's our moral imperative to get innovative as we have a whole year to think about this. And we're smart enough to figure this out. We just need a little time so that when we roll it out in the spring, that is not a segregated program. And then our excuse is, well, the government gave us this criteria, but it's a criteria with some wiggle room. And so let's work on the wiggle room with the main intent to be consistent with what we stand for. And that's inclusion of all. And so we're going to have a hybrid, blended program. And that's just going to have to be our marching orders. because we can't accept the segregated program in this day and age. We just can't do that. We know better, so we have to do better. And I take full responsibility of that. So my charge is, and directive is going to be a little different come the spring, is that we don't run segregated programs in Albany Unified School District. We run programs that are inclusive. And whether you're poor, rich, or in between, it's best when all kids play together. And so that's going to be the marching orders.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Wells, too. And I was just thinking, even though right now we're not providing any childcare in the Albany Unified School District, in a way that could play in our favor for a fully integrated summer program because we're not bound by the same restrictions. So maybe, we'll get with Ann, maybe do a little planning with Dr. Wells and see if we can make that kind of higher aspiration a reality next summer. It'd be great. We'd love to be a part of that. Yeah.
I want to be crystal clear, and we can follow this up in the spring, is that we're going to have marching orders that are not, that's going to be inclusive, collaborative, and we're going to start now so that we don't get in a situation saying, well, here's our interpretation. We have since read and reread, and they're going to make some adjustments in the spring because, again, they didn't meant to do harm. The legislators who approved this funding did not mean to do this kind of harm, and they're looking to us, the leaders, to correct it. And we say, okay, we got you. So come the spring, we're going to mix it up a little bit. I'll talk to you about that in more detail very soon.
Thank you.
Awesome. Much appreciated. And thank you guys all for these thorough presentations. And yeah. All right. We are going to move on tonight to our review and action item, which is the agreement with Team CivX, which is going to do parcel tax consulting services.
Madam Chair, President Davidson, this item is going to go over to our CBO, Kim, who will be introducing the item, and we do have one of our experts with us tonight, so we're excited about that. And so I give you CBO Kim.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. So this item was discussed at the last board meeting, so hopefully we cover all the questions and answered. So this item is for this evening for approved agreement with the Team CivX and for the partial tax consulting, and our expert from the firm is here this evening to answer any questions the board might have.
And just as a reminder, last board meeting, this was a review and discussion, and it was a very rich discussion. And tonight is, as you know, review and action. And again, as CBO Kim says, we have one of our experts with us this evening. Welcome.
And I'll just clarify that this is just us approving a contract for them to consult with us on our next steps and considerations. We are in no way at this moment approving anything beyond that. So that's what we're doing. If we have any board questions on this or a motion, we can do that now.
And this includes survey as well, polling and survey to the community.
Which we're required to have if we decide to do this, right?
Jeremy, if you can, yes.
Yeah, hi, Jeremy Hauser. I'm a founding partner with Team Civics. Thanks for having me. The contract in front of you tonight would cover our services that basically gets us from where we're at tonight, determining the feasibility of a parcel tax and the ability to place a measure on the ballot. Our recommended first step is voter opinion research, which is conducting a poll so that we can understand the tax rate sensitivities within your community, what programs might be supported by your voters, and what is or is not feasible. So in our recommendation, that first step is always a poll to kind of give us the guardrails to tell us what's possible, right? Because I think if we all decided around the dais tonight, we would ask for the most amount of money possible, I think. But we want to make sure that we're structuring a measure that aligns the needs of your district with your the priorities of your voters. And so we're looking for guidance tonight to get the green light to move forward with that polling process. Once we conducted that polling, we'd come back to you as a board with the results and present recommended next steps based on what we found in the research.
So we're approving $32,000 to $35,000 for polling is the first step. Is that right?
That is correct. That polling is a hard cost. You're also approving our monthly retainer of $7,500, which is, we bill on a pro rata basis. So if you approved it tonight, obviously we'd only have 3 days of work in September. We wouldn't bill you, obviously, for the whole month of September. We would just bill you for the days of service.
A lot of work done in those 3 days.
Yeah, we will.
Can I ask a quick question? How does the polling actually happen? What do you do to poll the community?
So we work with you all, with district staff, and we can work with a subcommittee of the board if that's of interest, to draft a questionnaire that answers at a very basic level, is a parcel tax measure feasible, yes or no? And we test a 75-word ballot question that we think has a reasonable chance of success, but also would be legally viable. We then would test various programs that could receive parcel tax funding and see how voters respond to those, and they can give us basically a ranking of how they want to spend their tax dollars. We'd also present them with positive arguments that a voter might hear over the course of a campaign to simulate what this might look like out in the community. We then, at that point, would ask the 75-word ballot question again and see if our support grew, right, to get an understanding of how that positive messaging and information helps affect support. And then we do the flip side of that. We would actually test some negative arguments to see, okay, worst case scenario, if we have folks in the community campaigning against us, what is our floor for support? We work with Brian Godby of Godby Research, who's conducted all of your polling for your recent successful bonds and parcel taxes, to design a statistically reliable survey. Given the size of Albany, we would be interviewing 350 likely March voters, so that we are getting a subset and a representative sample of who we think is going to be casting ballots in March, right? As you know, turnout in March, it's going to be higher than it's been recently, but not as high as it would be in November of next year. That's really the high watermark for voter turnout. But we really want to make sure we're speaking to the right voters so that the data we're getting back is representative of the community that we expect to vote on the measure when it's on the ballot.
Has that been pretty accurate in the past? Because I know you've done work for the district before. Do you find that the final result on the ballot is actually reflects your polling?
Absolutely. A poll is a snapshot in time. I know leading up to to Measure B, that election occurred in a very unique environment in March of 2020. I think none of us could have predicted that there would have been a pandemic right around the corner. Obviously, the economy and large global events like that can affect numbers, but we found that this is a really tried and true method for making sure that we're making the most informed decision possible. And given where we are, frankly, now in the calendar, I think we'll be getting results back, pretty close to when we'd actually be going on the ballot if, they come back saying that March is feasible.
Okay. We did our discussion last time, but I just want to make sure, because I don't think I shared this with the whole board before, and I'm going to do it now, so it's out in the public, but I just want to let you know. So our former board president very kindly shared with me sort of an overview of how they did this last time, so we understand. And she did say that in 2014 and 2019, an RFP was issued, and in both cases, they paid about $30,000 for the polling. But they didn't pay for any of the additional services outlined in this contract that we're seeing. So they just paid for those polling services, which my understanding is we are legally required to do those polling services. No, we're not.
You are not legally required. It's recommended. Given we need 2/3 support, it's really within your best interest to scientifically test and stress test what a measure might be. And I also, if I may, it was not me personally, it was my business partner, Charles Heath, but we were under contract with the district in the lead up to both of those measures.
And then, so recommendations from someone who's done this before, so that we all understand, are that we should decide first whether we're going to test a flat or a prorated tax, because we haven't decided what we're even looking at here. So I'm concerned that we're going to be going into polling everybody, but we haven't even had a conversation of, I know Jackie's given us some background information, but the board hasn't really figured out what we're going to even have you guys polling about. I think that's challenging for me. And I know that we're on a timeline. If we want to get this on the ballot at a certain time, we've been shown that timeline, and we all understand sort of the realities of that. Is there a way that we can break this contract down and approve a part of it right now? And also, my final question, if any old normal community member puts this on the ballot and decides, hey, this makes sense, we only need 50% to pass it. But if our board decides we're going to do this, we need 2/3.
Well, this has been my question more than once as a group. And Dr. Wells, you mentioned that you would ask our lawyer. So that's because I'm concerned that we go down a route and then we are shooting ourselves in the foot, effectively.
You guys are familiar with Harold, and Harold, as an attorney, we work with them on our parcel taxes as well. And this is the recommendation and route that he recommended we go down because it's a proven and tried piece. Here, the urgency in terms of the timeliness is that we're in need of revenues that would be considered adequate revenues to address some things that we value and to be in a position to retain and keep our brightest employees with us. And I think if we start picking and choosing, at this point, I'm afraid, and full disclosure, that we might have some delays and miss an opportunity to really make a big difference in Albany with the replacement of a parcel tax that could be restructured where all can win, especially our kids. So I was there and in the early meetings in the start of 2020 parcel tax when we were doing this process. And there was a lot of things we did well, and there's some things we would probably do differently. But I want to caution us to, these are folks who have a proven record, the go-to group, and we have an opportunity, and they carved out some time to work with us again. And so I'm recommending that we take the contract in full because of it would give us in this short period of time what we need to have this on the ballot. So I'm asking some of this to be trust, but the only thing we're asking for now is to have access to the firm that makes a difference and to get expert advice on the way. And we continue to use our attorney who've been with us from the start with our last two parcel tax, and that's Harold Freeman. So I feel pretty good about the direction we're going.
Just had one question following up on something that President Davidson asked about, and then a comment. The question is, can the polling not include questions about people's receptivity to a flat tax versus a graduated tax? Like, is that something that can be a part of polling? And if not, I'm not sure actually how else we would make that decision. So I'm hoping that can be a part of polling. And then just one comment is, understanding the importance of the difference between needing just 50 point whatever % support versus 66 2/3 or whatever. I just want to acknowledge that we're just coming back to a place where we have people willing to join the PTA and, like, you know, have our auctions and do our fundraising and that sort of thing. So I want us to be realistic about where we are right now in this current time period, post-pandemic or in the millionth stage of the pandemic or wherever it is that we are, and be realistic about what's possible for some angel group of people in our district to want to spend this amount of time and energy working toward.
So happy to answer your question. The short answer is yes, but I will caution that a poll is only as good as the data that you put in it. And if you try to answer too many questions in a poll, you'll end up answering none at all. We could employ what's called a split sample, where we randomly split the respondents that we're sending the poll to in half. And half the respondents hear a flat tax, and the other half hear a square footage-based tax. That could give us some good data back. I will caution against that because we're looking at a sample of 350 voters. When we cut that in half, we're looking at a really small sample size, which means the margin of error that we're going to get back from that data is going to be much larger. Essentially, what that means is that if we have a margin of error of 10 percentage points, for example, and we see support come back at 68%, a margin of error tells us that we could be at 68, or we could be as low as 58, or as high as 78, right? So we could explore that. I would recommend, because you have a flat tax in place that is not immediately going to expire, that we explore a square footage-based tax, because that's really the data that we do not have yet, and we come back to you all as a board and say, here's what we found, and we can discuss next steps. So that's how I would approach it. There are ways to parse that out, but I would caution against it just given the size of the community here. And if I could also just, I'm not a lawyer, but if I could speak to the Citizens Initiative process, because we hear about this from all of our clients, and that process is fraught for a few reasons, and there's a reason really that the only districts that try it are districts that really cannot get to that 2/3 level. It's fraught for a number of reasons, the first of which is that the California Business Roundtable has qualified a statewide initiative for the ballot next November that would essentially get rid of the Citizens Initiative process. And written into that statewide initiative is a retroactivity clause. So if there's any measures passed this year or next year using the Citizens Initiative process that get over 50% but less than 2/3, they would immediately have to go back to the ballot. Now, this statewide initiative might not pass. We don't know. There's a lot. The legislature is working really hard to try and find ways to defeat it, but that is a reality. I think a really other important thing to know is that if you go the Citizens Initiative route, the district cannot be involved whatsoever, and most importantly, the district cannot be involved financially. So the costs to pay a lawyer to write the initiative, to pay the signature gathering firm to get out into the community and get the signatures required to qualify for the ballot, and then the cost of the polling all has to be privately fundraised before the campaign, right? So you're doubling and sometimes tripling your campaign budget, which obviously the district cannot pay for. So that's why we usually don't recommend it for our clients unless we've done polling over and over again that just says, look, you're at 60%, but you're never going to get to 2/3. So just a little perspective as well on that
If I
front.
can add anything, I actually also checked in with our attorney, and that confirms the same reason. And he mentioned that he is not aware of any school district use the simple majority partial tax. It was the city unit. So that's another thing that is not recommended.
I mean, we would like 2/3 or more of our voters
Right.
to approve this, but we also understand the realities of all situations, and Albany is a very small community asking the same people for the same things over and over again. So we want to be really careful. Okay, my last question on this contract. Are we required to include the informational brochure mailing, all of that? Is that part of it? So what is we're just approving the contract tonight, and then is the amount like flexible within that, or are we approving a set amount of?
Essentially, what we're looking for approval tonight would be our fee, right, which is that monthly $7,500, which you could sever at any time.
Yeah, for how many months approximately?
Well, the deadline to qualify for the March ballot is December 8th, so we're looking at a pretty short timeline as is. Written into our contract, it extends 30 days after you act as a board to place a measure on the ballot. That way, we're still under contract to help you get all the materials needed over to the county and make sure the qualification goes okay. So at most, we're looking at probably 3 months, right, if we're looking at October, November, and December. And then obviously, we need direction on the poll, right? We want to get that from you all tonight so that we can start the process of drafting that poll. And, you know, we don't just go off into a black box and draft the poll and ask your community and come back and say, here's what we found. It's a very collaborative process. We want to work with you. Obviously, we have thoughts about what questions to ask and how to ask them, but we really want to work collaboratively with you to make sure that we're designing the best survey possible and we're getting you the answers to the questions that you think are most important. The informational brochures, I think we could, you know, reconsider after we do the polling and see, okay, here's what support is today. Here's what support looks like if we get some more information out into the community. And maybe we can use that data to make that decision. But we would not recommend sending anything out into the community before we've gotten our poll results back, so we kind of know what our playing field is, right? And by that time, we will have come back to you with a lot of data that says, here's our recommendation and here's why. And if part of that recommendation is informational brochures, we will certainly bring that up at that point. We just put it in our contract here so that we don't have to go back for another contract approval when it's good to go. But also written in our contract, we can't incur any costs over $1,000 without approval in writing from the district. So we want to be your partners on that front for sure.
Okay, so those parts are completely optional, and we will be able to say, yeah, we as a board will have the opportunity to say yes or no to those mailers. Because I feel I'm a little uncomfortable saying yes to the budget, they're optional, and all of a sudden we're like, wait, those went out and we had no idea. Okay. Any public comment? Or I forget. Cool.
I'm comfortable. That was helpful. Thank you. I appreciate all of the clarification. And I'm happy to make a motion if there are no more questions. Anybody? No. So I'll move to approve the agreement with Team Civics for parcel tax consulting services.
Can I make a friendly amendment?
Please.
With the clear stipulation that none of the optional costs will be approved without the board's approval and being looped in.
Madam Chair, President Davison, can you, Ms. Shin, define the optionals?
They're listed in here, 3 optionals, mailers.
Just put the 3 optionals with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I second as amended the motion.
Okay. Do we want to roll call this one? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all opposed? All right. We have a contract with you guys. Get busy in these 3 days.
Looking forward to it.
We expect a lot out of a little.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Yeah.
That's what we say about our city, right? A lot out of a little. That should be our new motto. Yeah, right. Urban Village by the Bay, where we do a lot with almost nothing. Okay. With that, we're going to superintendent reports.
Madam Chair, I'm going to ask for an extended 10 minutes because I have a report that's a little lengthy, about 15 minutes or less, but not tonight.
You know, we're like way ahead of schedule. We have time. And I was about to say before you said that, I was like, as long as we don't fill 40 minutes here, we can end early.
Actually, I'm really trying to do one every other board meeting, just so that we don't take up more time and it be more meaty and meaningful.
Okay. Vice President Boyd.
No report from me.
Trustee Hopwood.
I have one. Yes. Well, I was lucky enough to attend the Albany High School Back to School Night on the 30th of September, which was extremely well attended. Principal McNally thinks it was actually the most well attended Back to School Night, as you will attest, Vice President Boyd. It was packed in the gym. There weren't enough seats, so they'll know for next time. And I was able to go to a number of classrooms, which was really fun to see teachers that I've known for a long time and some brand new teachers to the school too. Particularly enjoyed Jeff Castle's new engineering and design principles class in C106 and the new workspace, which is so impressive and innovative and exciting. So that was fun. And earlier, before that, Back to School Night was the first PTSA meeting at the high school. Dorothy Peluso was unable to hand over her presidency of the PTSA, so she is still the president. So if anybody wants to think about joining for next year, that would be great, because she's out of there because her daughter's a senior. Great membership so far, PTSA, 157 right now, so they're still hoping to get more members, but people have been really engaged and stepping up and joining the PTSA at the high school, so that's great. Teacher appreciation function opportunities coming up in the next few weeks, 10th of October, 3rd of November, and the 8th of December, so please look out for calls for people to donate food or money for teacher appreciation. And also instructional improvement council and school site councils. Principal McNally would love more parent and community volunteers for those committees. But yeah, everything is great at the high school. So thank you. That concludes my report.
Trustee Khan.
I realized I forgot the location on one of my announcements, so yeah, we'll figure this out. But The API Parent Engagement Group is having their fall mixer on October 1st from 2:30 to 5:30. I forgot the location, but I swear it's in Parent Square, so you can find it there. Memorial Park. There you go. I knew it started with an M. Thank you. But before that, we're actually going to have the Jewish Parent Engagement Group is hosting I'm going to butcher this, but Sukkot fall harvest celebration from 11 to 2, so you can actually attend both in the same day if you wanted to. So that's happening. And then Ocean View had their PTA meeting. I was unfortunately not able to attend because we had our meetings, but we're planning for Fall Festival. Please join us for that because it's going to be October 21st, 11 to 3, and it's one of the most well-attended events at Ocean View. And you get to enjoy snow cones that I'll be making personally. So come through for my snow cones. They'll be filled with love. I had just so much fun at the Latinx Heritage Month celebration that took place at AMS. Truly a wonderful event. This was my second year attending, and magically I also won the same gift card 2 years in a row. I don't know how, but I'm thankful for it. So yeah, but it was wonderful. I feel like I saw everyone there. Dr. Shin was there, and Principal McNally was there, and I saw high school counselors, and literally everyone was there. Becky was there too. And so it was a wonderful event, lots of attendance, lots of good music, good food, and I apparently learned that I can do face painting after all, which took me a couple of years to learn, but in a moment of crisis, we figured it out. We also have the 15th Annual Community Craft Fair, November 5th from 11 to 3 p.m. at AMS. So register for that if you want to show off your wonderful crafts and also support AMS at the same time. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, wait, I apologize, but I thank Trustee Khan because I realized that there's a thing I should say. So the Black Parent Advisory Group is having our annual meet and greet this Saturday in Memorial Park at 11 a.m. I believe it's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is open to all families in the district to come spend time. There's going to be some refreshments, and we'll be getting to know each other and just kind of supporting community. And so hope to see folks there.
What time did you say?
11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Memorial
so
Park.
that's back to back for.
So just have a full day of cultural enrichment activities in Memorial Park. You don't even have to leave.
And because we're all forgetting things, Student Achievement Committee first meeting is coming up in October on the 19th of October. So also I think, Dr. Shin, you're saying that we would like some more involvement in that if possible. If anybody in the community is interested in joining, it's really worthwhile. So thank you.
All right. We had our first Environmental Action Planning Committee meeting. We got some great updates on different things. There is definitely conversation around solar in our district. I think we should be looking at any grants that are out there for solar specifically. Just prefacing a conversation with that comment. We got updates on all that happened over the summer, which was a tremendous amount that our facilities department took care of. And segueing from that, sorry, a couple of really quick things. There was a great conversation about the reusable silverware and dishware that we're getting in our district and all of the pieces that have gone into that. I mean, that's a multifaceted change, but it's going to have a big impact. And it involved a dishwasher, a new person, a van an electric van to transport things from site to site. So all of that was worked out and is in play, and hopefully those will be in a little while. Then on that facilities updates, I think the Cornell ball walls are in and usable now. It has been a long process, and we have some very happy kids and probably teachers. Yeah, happy teachers who are really relieved to have ball walls on the yard and that space open and not that kind of construction right now. There is more construction happening and coming, so thank you for all your patience with that one. Pumpkins have arrived at Westbury Nursery for the Cornell Pumpkin Patch. So if you're getting pumpkins, go there. They donate all of the sales to Cornell. It's like the biggest fundraiser, like the fall festival. So they need you to get your pumpkins at Westbury and buy something else from Westbury while you're there. They're an Albany unified family as well, and they give generously. So let's support that worker-owned collaborative business. And Cornell is also having an ice cream social on October 13th. And teachers will be scooping up ice cream scoops for the kiddos. So sugar them up and then, I don't know, let them run around or something. Don't take them home right away. No. And that concludes my report. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm a total nightmare. So for one thing that I'm sure I'm forgetting other things that I should be saying for the middle school, and so I apologize, Principal Mapes. But I know that for the 6th grade Halloween festival that people are looking for volunteers to work with, I believe it's Ms. Bukowski, one of our family's favorite teachers. Both my girls have had the opportunity to learn from her. And so I know that there's a big push for it's parent planning right now, working with Ms. Bukowski to plan the festival. It's for 6th graders, and it's to celebrate Halloween. It's on Halloween. It's super fun, and it's a big deal, and there'll be a chance for volunteers to sign up later. But right now, there's a push to plan, and I know that there's a meeting that's happening, and I don't remember when it is. Anyone who wants to know could reach out to Principal Mapes or me, and we could tell you when it is. But if you want to be a part of planning the Halloween festival for 6th graders, please reach out to folks and be a part of that.
You know, we should telecast these board reports the next day. We should send out this video clip of the superintendent and board reports the next morning to the whole community. Because just so that everybody understands, there's 5 people in our virtual audience, and one of them is the Albany site, and then there's you guys here, most of you who work for you all work for the district. So I just wonder if we could maybe have a little bit more, punch behind it if we figured something out like that. Was at a CSBA conference that they said that having videos go out to the community got a lot more response. So something to think about to add more work. One thing I just want to make note of, in our agenda tonight, we put that our future board meetings are October 12th and 24th. It's 10th and 24th. Okay, I just realized that. Only because I freaked out because I have a big thing on the 13th and was like, no. Future agenda items. Anybody? I'll give y'all a second to think. Great. Okay, great. Send me a video. Come in all pixelated. All right, with that, we are adjourning our meeting. That'd be about 48 minutes early. All right, good job, guys.